Quick disclaimer, I have worked with Lychibe in the past and was acquainted with her as fellow content creators prior to the situation. However, I was not personally involved in this situation. While it may or may not appear otherwise to some, this isn't a video to support or criticize Lychibe or her supporters and critics, but is strictly to cover and discuss the events and details that have transpired. The context. Lychibe is an indie Canadian VTuber who debuted for the first time on October 12th, 2024. The drama started around July 13th, 2026, when Lychee made a rant post about her discontent with a raid experience, claiming that she felt invisible to the rated VTuber after raiding with around 40 viewers, even when one of her viewers gifted 10 subs to the VTuber. This post would start to gain a fair amount of attention from the VTubing community, with criticism towards her appearing for her raid mentality at the time, as well as citing a previous tweet from her as a reason why people wouldn't appreciate her quote-unquote mean girl mentality. Over the course of the same day, Lychee would make a few more tweets regarding the criticism she was facing, essentially claiming that her critics were quote-unquote witch hunting her for her tweets, and that they should be doing something else, which only caused more eyes to be on her and the situation. Now, Lychee would make a video on July 14th in response to the criticism, where she'd highlight extensive personal trauma, her past online history of doxing and harassment, and her general motivations for streaming, that being to combat intense loneliness. In that video, she would essentially dismiss the complaints and critics towards her by pointing to how, quote, "I don't think a couple of words should really bother you that much," and compared her situation to those who spread racism and hate speech. The escalation. The drama would blow up on July 15th, 2026, when indie VTuber Satsuma made a tweet that showed Lychee's raid in question, to where the VTuber in question, Haruharo, was quite grateful for the raid and gifted subs, and shouted Lychee out both on stream and on Twitter, which allegedly contradicted the July 13th raid claims that Lychee made. This would cause a major backlash towards Lychee and her claims, with many more individuals calling Lychee out for her alleged misrepresentation of the situation. Lychee would go on to vent in her Discord on the 16th, essentially burning bridges with other VTubers and claiming that those who were criticizing her were simply doing it for clout, rather than a genuine attempt to point out any issues. Indie VTuber Waffle Bean would also call out Lychee on July 17th, claiming that Lychee has bullied her and other VTubers in the past, and highlighted an instance in their DMs where Lychee either intentionally or inadvertently downplayed Waffle's past homelessness by referring to herself as homeless. In the exchange, Lychee would briefly apologize, but would end up arguing with Waffle over what she interpreted to be a mild issue. This would end up being the last straw for a lot of people, with many who were associated with her opting to pull away from Lychee, which included, but weren't limited to, one of her mods, her group mates, and her model Rigger. Now, after those two tweets, Lychee would deactivate her Twitter account and opted to make a second one, where she'd claimed that she would use it just to continue her art contest and post minor things. However, this would end up not being entirely the case. The Google Docie. The same day, on July 17th, Lychee would post a 16-page Google Docie as an attempt to address the drama. In this Google Docie, Lychee would start by claiming that VTubers were piling onto her by posting misleading screenshots of her messages to make her appear evil, though wouldn't include the primary screenshots in question due to the high stress she was facing at the time. To go over the counterpoints Lychee made in the Docie, she would apologize to Haro for venting about the situation, claiming that the vent was made due to miscommunication between the two, and that she felt ignored due to not being followed back on Twitter after she raided Haro, though claimed that the community was being inaccurate in regards to the nature of the situation, as it was a post that she made at the moment. Regarding the mean girl behavior claims, Lychee claimed that the CCV tweet in question was a quote-unquote cheeky post, rather than a genuine attempt to drag someone down, and claimed that VTubers were cropping the replies to make it appear that she was being mean. Unfortunately, screenshots of the replies weren't shown, and I don't have a way to 100% confirm or counter this. Apart from calling indie VTuber Existential Bread out for being an alleged stalker due to a prior interaction, Lychee would address the Waffo situation, claiming that Waffo quote-unquote blew up at her for the usage of the word homeless, and refused to accept Lychee's apology. She would state that she used the word because she genuinely believed that she was going to be homeless, and insisted that she never explicitly asked for money. She wrapped up the Docie by essentially stating that the true mean girls are the ones who are starting and dragging this drama out of jealousy, and that they should be focusing on those who actually deserve it. Now, did this Docie help Lychee absolve herself of the drama? No, far from it, as people would call her out for allegedly taking zero accountability for her behaviors and actions, and opting to deflect rather than apologize. One user even found screenshots of her flat out saying the N-word 5 years ago, to which Lychee initially claimed it was fake, but then added a section to her document stating that she used it to quote-unquote fit in with her harassers. The aftermath. Unfortunately, Lychie would state in her Discord that she attempted a few hours after the release of her document, but has fortunately been saved by paramedics. She has gone silent on Twitter and Twitch as of this video, though has been continuing to post announcements on her Discord server. One of these announcements, back on July 22nd, linked her most recent video at the time of writing the script. This video essentially went over the details of what happened during the drama and the aftermath, where she stated that she was okay and was at her hometown recovering from the attempt. However, this video would mark a significant turning point with Lychie's beliefs and behaviors towards those in the VTubing community through various ways. One of the biggest changes being that her motivation to stream and to do well is now out of spite, wanting to succeed and partner push on Twitch to quote-unquote piss everybody off. She would also attack those who cut ties with her, especially those who reached out to her after her attempt, and would start boycotting the VTuber community by stating that it's quote-unquote the most jealous and toxic environment, and opting to no longer collab with anybody anymore. She would also mobilize her audience by telling them to quote-unquote just be as annoying as possible by aggressively spreading and promoting her content and channel. Now, towards the end, she basically stated that she fully intends to continue making content and re-emphasized her spite-driven motivation to succeed in content creation. As with all my videos, do not harass anyone in or outside of this video.